Hello, this is Ken Ferrie with this week's Boots in the Field report. The past week has brought a lot of guys across the finish line on soybeans and deep into the corn harvest. Yields continue to stay strong, but we are seeing the later planted full season beans dropping off some in yield. Just not getting enough water during pod fill. Some of the later planted corn, the May planted corn, has dropped off a little too, but man, the yields are still strong. It's been a busy week taking out plots with yields all over the place. This past week we took out a bean plot where we had different planting dates, two different maturities in the same field. So we planted a 3.7 and a 3.5 maturity. We planted them on 4/15, May 8th, and May 21st. The 3.7 maturity went 88 bushel, planted on April 15th. It went 80.5 bushel, planted on May 8th. It went 71.5 bushel, planted on May 21st. That's a 16.5 bushel spread from April 15th to May 21st. And again, I'm guessing that May 21st planting got tight on water as it was filling. The 3.5 maturity had 11 bushel spread, going from 82 bushel on April 15th to 71 bushel on May 21st. And again, as we see through all the plots, the early bean planting looks to stay strong from a yield perspective. We took out some of our flex plots this week in corn. That's where we plant hybrids at 22 and 36,000 to study ear flex. I took one out in Livingston County where we had a hybrid make 266 bushel planted at 22,000. And believe it or not, that was 6 bushel better than that entry at 36,000. I find these numbers hard to believe, and if I didn't help harvest this plot myself, I might not believe it. Now, of the 12 numbers in the plot, 4 didn't yield enough, going from 22 to 36,000 to pay the seed bill. Now, the other 8 had strong responses to the population increase. We took out a plot in DeWitt County looking at 3 N rates on 3 hybrids with planting populations of 32 and 38,000. One hybrid in this plot had green snapped back in July in the tune of 70% snapped and snapped below the ear. The other 2 hybrids took the storm well. All the hybrids responded to the N rates. One hybrid was in that 260 to 280 bushel range, and it had a 13 bushel response to higher population and higher N rate, so going from that 32 up to the 38. One hybrid was in the 285 to tapping over 300 bushel range, and believe it or not, it had small responses to the population, but strong responses to the N rates. The hybrid that green snap, that dog went from 60 bushel to the low to 191 at the high. It's kind of depressing. In every rep, the 32,000 was twice the yield of the 38. So if you don't believe that population influences standability in a storm, this plot would teach you something different. We harvested a nitrogen plot where we planted populations 28 and 38, and we used 2 different N rates. The reps were half one and done application. The other half was a split shot application of nitrogen between the dry, the planter, and the side dress. The higher N rate was 10 to 40 bushel better than the lower N rate. The split shot reps were 8 to 19 bushel better than the one and done rate. This was evident in a lot of areas this summer that N was going to be a costly thing if you ran out, and some of our N plots are showing it to us right now. Getting a number of calls on fall strip till, what to do. Some areas and some soil types, the strips are looking okay. But in many areas, these strips are really coming up chunky due to the dry soil. There are going to be some tough seed beds next spring, and we'll need to have above normal moisture and freezing and thawing to get them into shape. Many growers have strip fresheners to run in the spring to help get these in shape. I think those that have access to strip fresheners in the spring to fit these strips down before planting, I think they're going to be all right. But if you're not planning on running a freshener on these cloddy strips next spring, you may want to wait for rain to make conditions better for stripping. Remember, this is your seed bed that you're preparing. Now be careful stripping on much slope with this hard ground. If we do get a hard drive and rain, you'll be set up for some heavy-duty gully erosion. So if you can strip on the contour, it'd be a lot safer. A couple other options would be to bypass the fall strip and just run a freshener in the spring, or no-till the field. This fall is a no-tiller's dream. No combine tracks, no auger tracks. Situation where this is set up to where we can go right in there and lay down a nice seed bed in the spring no-till. Many fields are getting fall tillage, and they're looking kind of tough. The clods aren't the size of baseballs. They're the size of baseball hats. Our goal with fall tillage is to have it over winter with less than a 3-inch peak and valley, so we can apply spring chemicals before leveling, and then we can plant. Many of these fields will need a 2-pass system to get ready for planting. In worked corn stalks, you may want to make one of those passes this fall. But in the bean stubble, I'm already seeing too much black ground in the bean stubble. If we make a pass this fall to try to level up some of these clods, we'll be setting ourselves up for some winter erosion from wind, as this ground can freeze dry on us and blow around. For those of you in a vertical program, you may want to park the fall tillage, especially on the bean stubble, and no-till into it next spring. If the residue bothers you too much, hit it with a vertical tillage tool next spring before planting. Those of you doing fall tillage in a vertical system, we need to be sure that we're getting full width shatter, so don't be too quick to slip that thing out of the ground when you're having a hard time pulling it. We still got to have full width shatter to stay with that system. We need rain for a lot of reasons, such as tillage, strip till, this wheat crop, which I'm afraid is in trouble, and getting some of these covers growing, as well as knocking down the fire threat. Battling field fires is a constant threat. One of the farms Jared was taking plots on last week caught fire about an hour after everyone left. I was 5 miles to the north taking out a plot, and not only could I see the smoke, but we could smell the fire. The fire was started by lightning, with the cell that came through that dropped about 10 drops of rain in it, but a little bit of lightning. Fortunately, farmers in nearby fields saw the lightning and the fire started and got it called in quick. And a quick response by a number of fire departments and neighbors with tillage tools, they got ahead of it before it did too much damage, which is a task on a windy day, and this day the wind was blowing. I saw the warning on my phone that lightning strike had happened in the area, but I didn't think much of it. Growers have shared some of their contingency plans for fire, like tillage tools following the harvest crews, and some guys are filling up their sprayer tenders and keeping it with the harvest crews. Let's stay on top of it. Let's keep up the battle. The finish line is in sight. To stay up to date, check out our website at croptechinc.com and subscribe to our podcast, Boots in the Field Report. Keep her safe, keep her moving.